Mirage, collectivism, illusion, delusion. Quote, they cannot scare me with their empty spaces between stars on stars where no human race is. I have it in me so much nearer home to scare myself with my own desert places. Robert Frost from Desert Places, 1936. Everything is an illusion. Somewhere, something is being projected by your mind or the minds of others. We are role players. Our personas, or who we think we are or identify with, are like costumes. So, when you hang out in a specific spot, the dress attire will require you to be more blue than red, consenting to values or akin to the liberation of them. Big institutions centralize knowledge, educating using parrots that repeat perfect scripts. So, when the wave moves, everything else is collated. It seems coherent because the movement it creates seems in resonance. So, how does this illusion work? Its definition is what determines reality. How about nature? Ta Physika literally means, in Greek, the natural things. What is natural law? How are the planets not falling off the sky? How can trees and flowers grow from roots upwards? How is this invisible, sticky, non-defined idea of the Creator represented energetically? Chi, prana, ether, any clue? Metaphysics is the science of the inward and the essential nature of things. The abstract concepts such as being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. This meta, beyond the nature of physical reality, can't be measured. It transcends a definition that can be accounted for by length, weight, temperature, and diverse frequencies and spectra. Quote, metaphysical science will mean those that we study after having mastered the sciences that deal with the physical world. San Thomas Aquina, Expositio in Libro Boeti, blah, blah, blah. Nothing I can't read. How about perception? What came first, the mind or humanity? Or did humanity's mind make us aware of our limitations and its projections? Relativity, yes. Without relationships of all kinds, our mind can't protect itself from being a projection, an illusion. We're trapped inside the veil, the illusion of material experience that with its binary quality tends to project itself as a separation. In reality, no pun intended, the illusion offers the potential for a synthesis. Quote, it all seems real, but as it is constantly changing, it is not real. Due to this Maya mentality, the illusion that the world is real, people do not look beyond the veil of illusion to me, the unchanging consciousness, the absolute reality beyond all the worldly. They do not see beyond to me. The very basis of it all. The curtain of illusion, the Maya, is hard to see through, Arjuna. Only those who love and depend completely on divinity are eventually able to see through it. Those who are unable to see beyond the veil cannot, in effect, discriminate between real and not real. Oblivious to the reality of their own higher nature, the true self within, they sink to their lower nature and do evil deeds, committing acts that turn them away from divinity, not knowing the holy from the unholy. They are, of course, not devoted to me, divinity. End of quote. The Bhagavad Gita. Eclipses are coming fast and furious, and one just passed by. To be honest, I had no energy to boast, so I've given myself the space to explore my feedback while investing my time in preparing 3 public artworks. This focus keeps me away from the external chaos that seems to be intensifying. However, I also spend quality time observing longer cycles to map what I see and synthesize it with my insights. I have no idea where we're going, but I can study these cycles to be prepared. You gotta do what you have to do. Take time to contemplate. The screen onto which you project yourself, the other. What expectations are you projecting onto each thing, situation, or person? I'll go first. I'm noticing my environment even more. I tend to attract provoking and extreme situations. This doesn't mean I have to embody these provocations or create extreme situations where integrity is at stake. No, I have a perspective where I can discern the needs of others, and if so, I can nurture only those who are willing to receive. I need to take time to detect what vessel needs nurturing. One caveat, though. I am only serving sovereign individuals, yet the most impactful practice has been to give myself the space to receive from me to me. Never before I had yielded so much towards truly nurturing my needs. I feel my voice is stronger and less dependent on outside validation. I still enjoy relational values, but I'm not succumbing to the need for attention. This is the practice. Look at your nodal axis in human design, your incarnation cross in your profile. This equation will show you the scope of your life, how to ground yourself, and which stage you're in, and what environment will allow you to evolve. In my case, it is quite clear. As a 6-2, I show up when needs arise and engage accordingly, serving as an alignment factor. The deception of collectivism is endangering the authentic potential of every being. While this is a thing I'm developing for my book, I would like to briefly address it here. Let's delve into the astrological context of two planets surrounding the publication of the infamous Communist Manifesto around 1848. At that time, Saturn, symbolizing concrete reality, and Neptune, representing boundary dissolution, both occupied 27 degrees of Aquarius, ruled by Uranus. This alignment will be interpreted as a revolution of collective behavior, Saturn, where the boundaries are blurred regarding who is responsible for assigning value to one's work. Fact: the USA's moon also shared this degree. By observing the cycles of 36 years when these two planets meet, we can discern a pattern that involves Russia and the Soviet Union. The next time Saturn and Neptune will meet is on February 2026 at 0 degrees Aries, marking the beginning of a full cycle since 1846, and heralding a new cycle of behavior between individuated citizens and those who have been using collectivism as a way to mask their freedom behind victimization, exploitation, and inequality supposedly proposed by a free market. These cyclic alignments offer a unique perspective on historical events and their impact on political, educational, and economic agendas. It is crucial to highlight the similarities on evolution from an ideology of collective thinking to the current prevalence of collectivism worldwide. This trend hampers our ability to confront our fears of individual sovereignty. Some advocate for total government provision, including freedom, dismissing the notion that societies cooperate in free markets and create capital production, specialization, and new technology through the division of labor. We're already witnessing the decline of many structures that once symbolized solid institutions. The Saturn-Neptune cycle provides further insight into these historical shifts. The last conjunction occurred at the end of the 80s in Capricorn, marking the fall of a failed ideology and the physical wall in Berlin. This period also saw significant changes in China as Mao Zedong era was begun the transition towards a more open economic policy. Before that, the conjunction in 1953 occurred in Libra, coinciding with Stalin's death and marking the beginning of a new era in Soviet leadership. In China, this period marked the end of the Korean War and the consolidation of Mao's power. The 1950s also saw the rise of the Cold War and the beginning of the space race between the USA and the USSR. In 1917, the conjunction occurred in Leo, aligning with the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia, which led to the establishment of the Soviet Union and the beginning of communist rule. This period also saw the end of the World War I and the beginning of a new era of global politics and economics. Note the inception of the Federal Reserve in 1913. Looking back further, the previous Saturn-Neptune conjunctions occurred in 1882 in Taurus, in 1846 in Pisces, and 1819 in Sagittarius. These periods were associated with significant shifts in industrialization, romanticism, and exploration, respectively. These events, occurring approximately every 36 years, highlight significant shifts in ideological and political landscapes. As Hans Hermann Hoppe argues in Why Socialism Must Fail, socialism leads to a politicized society which harms wealth creation. Although it aims for complete equality, socialism overlooks the crucial issue of resource control. In a socialist economy without private ownership, control is determined politically, leading to inefficiency and prioritizing political skills over productivity. This shift away from productive roles alters people's personalities, favoring political acumen over practical abilities. Consequently, society becomes impoverished, with incompetent individuals often rising to leadership positions. Even in the United States, which is not fully socialist, we can see negative effects from politicization. Politicians increasingly infringe on private property rights. These effects mirror those of socialism: reduced investment and savings, resource misallocation, overuse and degradation of production factors, and lower quality of productions and services. These issues serve as a preview of life under complete socialism. Quote, "Why socialism must fail. Socialism and capitalism offer radical different solutions to the problem posed by scarcity. Everybody can't have everything they want when they want it, so how can we effectively decide who will own and control the resources we can have? The chosen solution has profound implications. It can mean the difference between prosperity and impoverishment, voluntarily exchange and political coercion, and even totalitarianism and liberty. The capitalist system solves the problem of scarcity by recognizing the right of private property. The first one to use a good is its owner. Others can acquire it only through trade and voluntary contracts. But until the owner of the property decides to make a contract to trade his property, he can do whatever he wants with it, so long as he does not interfere with or physically damage the property owned by others. The socialist system attempts to solve the problem of ownership in a completely different way. Just as in capitalism, people can own consumer products, but in socialism, property that serves as the means of production are collectively owned. No person can own the machines and other resources that go into producing consumption's goods. Mankind, so to speak, owns them. If people use the means of production, they can do so only as caretakers for the entire community. The socialist experiment will always end in failure. First, socialism results in less investment, less saving, and lower standards of living. Second, socialism results in inefficiencies, shortages, and prodigious waste. This is the insight of Ludwig von Mises, who discovered that rational economic calculation is impossible under socialism. He showed that capital goods under socialism are at the best used in the production of second-rate needs, and at worst, in production that satisfy no needs whatsoever. Third, socialism results in overutilization of the factors of production until they fall into despair and become vandalized. Fourth, socialism leads to a reduction in the quality of goods and services available for the consumer. Hans Hermann Hoppe. There's a link to the article. Okay. While social constructs are important, we should focus on improving individual awareness and responsibility. The next 2 years will be intense, with a tug of war between yielding our sense of belonging and surrendering to the mob due to fear, or standing up and speaking the truth against misinformation. More restrictions often lead to less freedom. My advice is that ignorance contributes to slavery. Educate yourself on history and try reading perspectives from other sides. Consider what you consume and what consumes you. Character is defined by frequency, repetition, and environment, both actively and passively. To make solid transformations in your life, examine how you relate to everything. Remember, you are what you eat, what you think, and what you surround yourself with. Individuation is not just a hashtag. It requires human action based on contemplation of what you value and what you need. It's evident to me how education over the last 165 years has often encouraged more sheep behavior than individual excellence. Strive for excellence by being the best version of yourself and contributing positively to every community you encounter. The damage done in this complete cycle of Saturn and Neptune is extremely obvious. There is still time to see through the mirage of collectivism as a way to thrive creatively. It is an illusion that only benefits very few. Just look at the numbers in history of the USSR, Cuba, Venezuela, and very soon the United States of America, with all the alphabet agencies pushing for inclusive agendas that are more exclusive than anything else. My aim is not to be controversial, but I appreciate the fact that I look at charts, read history, and study new themes that allow me to reflect on topics differently. 10 years ago, I would have said anathema, but instead I have opened my senses to allow other information. Perhaps the program is so great that one believes everything we perceive. Quote, if some people pretend that history or geography gives them the right to subjugate other races, nations, or peoples, there can be no peace. Ludwig von Mises. I'm going to read the footnotes. I think I'm talking about physics and the definition of physics in according to a dictionary. So before the rise of modern science, physics was usually defined as the science of that which is movable or the sciences of natural bodies. It was commonly made to include all natural science. At present, vital phenomena are not considered objects or physics, which is divided into general and applied physics. Footnote number 2, metaphysics was first used as a title for several of Aristotle's works because they were usually anthologized after the works on physics in complete editions. The prefix meta, after, indicates that these works come after the physics chapters. However, Aristotle himself did not call the subject of these books metaphysics. He referred to it as first philosophy. The editor of Aristotle's works, Androcynus of Rhodes, is thought to have placed the books on first philosophy right after another work, physics, and called them ta meta ta Physika Biblia. Ta meta ta Physika Biblia. It means like these books are come after the books on physics. Yeah. This was misread by Latin scholars who thought it meant the science of what is beyond the physical. Funny, huh? Footnote number 3, eclipses. Mars entered the slippery Pisces and Mercury is on the verge of going retrograde in Aries as the eclipse season kicks off this Monday. What's next? Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn are caught off guard by the South Node in Libra. A new cycle between Saturn and Venus in Pisces has sparked a crisis in how you perceive your value structure. Take time to deeply contemplate the spiritual motivations behind your needs and values, as this introspection may manifest in the material world. If an unexpected event triggers a crisis, seize the opportunity to reassess your relationships. Be prepared for a clash of ideals that may suddenly challenge your belief system from external sources. This might have already happened in the last few days, by the way. As Saturn and Neptune continue their journey through Pisces until 2026, our reality will undergo profound transformations at the soul level. During Mars' presence in Pisces amidst eclipse season, you might find a profound connection to your spiritual desires. However, establishing boundaries will be crucial to discerning between mere illusion and genuine spiritual guidance. Stay away from the fake gurus. Stay vigilant. Trust in your higher self as the ultimate guide, yet remain introspective and self-assured. With Mercury retrograde in Aries, reflect on your internal dialogue, reassess your relational values, and align yourself with those who champion your freedom across all aspects of life, emotionally, financially, physically, and spiritually. Mercury will meet Chiron and the nodes. Embrace your courage as your guiding force. Footnote number 4, I think, yeah. My lunar nodes in human design are design-wise North Node 39, provocation, and South Node is 38, struggles, and personality-wise is 15, which is extremes, and the South Node is at the gate 10, and that will be integrity. Okay. My incarnation cross is 27-6, 28-6, 19-2, 33-2, left cross of alignment. Last footnote. Marx and Engels proposed the following transitional policies: the abolition of private property in land and inheritance, introduction of a progressive income tax, confiscation of rebels' property, nationalization of credit, communication and transport, expansion and integration of industry and agriculture, enforcement of universal obligation of labor, and provision of universal education and the abolition of child labor. The text ends with the decisive and famous call for solidarity, popularized as the slogan, "Workers of the world, unite! You have nothing to lose but your chains." Okay, guess what? Finishing this, I'm feeling a little bit better because I wanted to post something. I've been very much committed to my book and again, my 3 other commitments, and I just needed some time, and I'm going to take myself another extra time. Eclipse is coming. I'll show up as much as I can. I have other voices to edit and drop, but I'll take a couple of weeks to do that because I'm also going to Dallas for a Bitcoin conference. Anyway, thank you so much. 20 minutes. Bye bye.